Can I just say the fact that we made it this far is
Fucking week 5
crazy.
is fucking the fact that I've still fucking been coming, bro.
That's basically the main thing. I mean, look, if there's anyone who has done any looking at my channel, they'll see that I took damn near a whole year hiatus from uploading. So for me too, to be fair, the fact that we've made it this far is, damn, bro, we here, bro.
Decently consistent. We just need to figure out for real fucking set day, bro. We need to do this shit.
And it's a little weird that this fool just kind of just showed up here out of nowhere.
Fuck this one.
Nah, this fool seems chill. This fool seems chill. I'm gonna let him
like
hang.
Sitting there quiet though.
Nah, I'm gonna let him hang. I'm gonna let him hang out.
Can kick it for today, bro.
I was the quiet kid though. It's all good. I mean, this is an interesting one because I feel like the more recent episodes, like we kind of started in a weird time where like, yes, the international tournaments were happening, but like they were kind of wrapping up. And then we were just in this little dead zone where like there wasn't too much happening in the world of football, which obviously you can probably tell by the jerseys. That's what we're all about over here is our soccer, as our American friends like to say.
Football.
And it's been an underwhelming summer. You know, we already kind of talked about in a previous episode how the tournaments weren't necessarily the greatest.
Yeah.
And the transfer window is one of those things that like I look forward to every year. Is like, even not just for my own club. I'm a Manchester United fan personally, but even just overall, just seeing all the teams reassembling, who's gonna go where, like
literally like you can
following the sagas,
the craziest type of like guesses who's gonna take the leagues or whatever. Just
exactly.
One little transfer, man.
Exactly. One little transfer can all of a sudden make a team feel like they're gonna be like all of a sudden having a golden opportunity. And so it's just it's one of those things that definitely changes an entire outlook of a team. And so
can I tell you one thing though?
Yeah.
So like you're saying it's been the transfer window's been fucking hella like mids, right?
That's kind of what I'm getting to.
But
Is that it's been underwhelming.
But I feel depending on what Mbappe does at Real Madrid. Whereas, like, we're looking over because we've been expecting that shit for, like, how long, bruh?
That's the point I'm trying to get to is, yes, the Mbappe deal, in theory, is extremely exciting because it's the best player in the world, arguably going to arguably the biggest club in the world. So it's,
at the moment.
It's an extremely exciting move on paper in all of those ways. The problem is, we knew it was going to happen for, like, 3 years now. And it was announced officially even months before the window even actually opened up and shit. Like, it wasn't even a part of the actual transfer window. And so I watched a video recently from a great channel, HITC Sevens, which does like some really interesting football kind of like short video essay type of content. It's a really good channel. And he was talking about why this transfer window has been kind of shitty. And so I kind of got the main bullet points from that, and I wanted to kind of present that to you as like the reasons of why we're seeing what we're seeing. So one of the main points that was being made in there was that teams are a lot more system oriented and not really built around individual talents like we used to see back in like the 90s, 2000s, even kind of the early 2010s, where a lot of teams would look to have one or two like extremely talented attacking players or midfield players that could kind of be that game-changing player and build around those guys. And anytime one of them made a move, it was a big deal because you knew that that's a game-changing player going to a team that all of a sudden, like, this guy's going to win matches for them. He's going to score amazing goals. Like, we used to see transfers that felt like the impact was severe. And with an Mbappe transfer, that's one of the only ones that's happened over this summer window that feels like it has that, like, impact of, like, we know this guy is going to be a serious player on a serious team. Like, we're excited to see what he's going to do. But besides that, there hasn't been a lot of, like, individual excellent players that are like extremely exciting just on their own. No matter what team they're on, we know like they're gonna be exciting to watch. Moving teams, you know, like those match changing, game winning players. And so that's one of the factors that I think is taken away from it. And it's one of the things that we've talked about often just in our own conversations about the sport, is that the individual talents have kind of been pushed aside in favor of like system players. And we kind of joke about it, like that Pep ruined football and stuff like that. But like the winger position, for example, is something that gets talked about endlessly online. The fact that like people say that we used to get wingers like Neymar and these guys that were like super creative, Hazard, willing to take on players and do things that were unorthodox. And, traditionally speaking, it's a bad decision to take on 3-4 players at once. But if you have the skill to do it, you know what I mean? And these days, the way that attacking structures are built up, there's a lot of patterns and like predetermined structures of like when the ball gets to this grid area of the pitch, everyone knows where they're supposed to be, and if you get the ball, you're either supposed to pass here, or here, like everything is kind of predetermined, and it does make at times when it works, like obviously as a Man United fan it sucks to admit it, and there's about 115 reasons why it's a little suspicious, but when Manchester City are like firing on all cylinders and like everything's clicking and everyone's moving into the right positions and the passing's working right, it looks nice to look at. But if you watch them consistently week after week after week, it can get a bit boring at times because you kind of know the style of play that you're going to see every week versus back in the day when you would tune in and watch these creative wizards go to work. Like, it was going to be something different. Like, and it wasn't just the top. Like, I know I mentioned Neymar and Hazard earlier, but like someone else who comes to mind is like the typical streets will never forget guy, Abdel Taarabt at QPR, where it's like you never know what he's going to do when you turn up week to week. They just know give Taarabt the ball and let him cook. You know what I mean? And you don't really get that anymore. Like those type of...
So what are you blaming it on exactly, though, is my question right now.
It's the coaching. It would be the coach. So the way that the teams are coached means that the way that the transfers happened has changed. And so you don't see
so you're not blaming exciting... it on the players no more?
No, what I'm saying is that... I've never blamed it on the players.
But shouldn't it be on the player, though? Because if a player is that player...
No, because if the coach is telling you do this or else, like, that's all there is to it. Like, even if someone pulls off a nice move and does a good pass or something, like, realistically, if they're going against what their coach is asking them to do, they're just not going to be a part of the team for very long. We saw that with Sancho and Erik ten Hag recently. Like, they didn't really see eye to eye on everything that he was being asked to do, and that played a part in completely destroying their relationship. And so it's one of those things where I just think that the coach is now, especially because Pep has been so ridiculously successful, I think teams look at the idea of having a coach that's in control of the system that's being played, like that's the recipe for success now. And statistically speaking, it probably is. Like if you play out seasons, like if you simulate it 100 times, 1,000 times, you're probably going to do better with a really good coach versus like a couple really good players. You know what I mean? Yeah. Having that system is extremely important. And so that impacts the transfer market, and that makes it less exciting to see one single player move from club to club. Like in the HITC video that I was talking about, one of the examples that was used was Calafiori. Like, he could be the way that his passing and defensive, his athleticism and all that stuff, the way that he works in Arsenal's system might help unlock something that does help push Arsenal over the line and gets Arsenal that title win over Manchester City. But it's because they're finding a better cog to put into a machine versus just one individual machine that does its own thing, if that makes sense. It used to be kind of a bunch of individuals coming together to try their best to do what they can do, and now it's definitely like a bunch of individuals still, but they're coming together to form like one overall.
So you would say, I would compare this, I feel like you're talking about almost like Bayern in a way.
I don't think it's just Bayern. I think it's all of the top level clubs, and that's why you're seeing it not like those exciting big transfers that we expect to see from the biggest clubs in the world. You're not seeing because they all now have a very specific profile of player they're looking for that suits their system, and it's not like anyone's looking for the next Messi, the next Ronaldo. Like, obviously that'd be nice, but like those players aren't necessarily falling off of trees every day. That type of talent doesn't just happen. But like, it's much easier to find someone who does the specific things that you're looking for to fit the role to help your overall system thrive better.
So do you think that makes sense for everything how inflated the market is now? Because I feel like that also kills like a part of like the specialness of a transfer. There's so much 100 million players that have been transferred already. And
I actually think that it's a bit of a market correction now because we haven't seen as many of those this year. And so I think we're now in an era where those types of super transfers are much more calculated.
Hmm.
For example, a Kylian Mbappe. Real Madrid spent big on a few players in consecutive years to add to their midfield, like players like Chumeni, Camavinga, and Bellingham, and they did that in like three back-to-back transfer
Transfers, yeah.
windows. But before they did that, the last big player they had signed was Eden Hazard, and they took like 2-3 years off. Didn't really spend anything big, and then all of a sudden, when the players they wanted popped up, they went big year after year after year. The only clubs you see really consistently spending big are the clubs with some suspicious allegations around them. Like if we're just being brutally honest about it, every other club, Arsenal included, Barca included, those are the clubs that obviously more of a Barca fan than an Arsenal fan, but those are the two clubs that I feel like you're mostly following and
Yeah.
a fan of, and like those teams you're seeing like the big transfers they happen here and there, like your Declan Rice happens, but in this season you only see a Calafiori, like small little things happening here and there. It'll probably be the same for the next couple transfer windows until like y'all kind of save up, build up for that next big transfer that's like fully scouted and targeted for over a year. Just like how the Rice deal was, like there had been rumors and talks about it forever, and they took so long to really make sure that like this is gonna be the right investment, because ultimately FFP and all these systems that have been implemented, these clubs know if we
Yeah.
miss on £100 million player, like look at what happened with Real Madrid and Hazard, they weren't able to spend for years after that because that single transfer went wrong. And clubs are just smart enough to know that that's not a good way to invest money at this point. And so I don't think you're going to see as many £100 million flops anymore like we used to see back in the day. It's just not going to be happening as often. Clubs know better. And so I feel like overall, the way that the game has shifted away from building around the talents of an individual
Yeah.
and building now towards a system being implemented by a coach, that definitely changes the way that the entire transfer market functions, because you're no longer looking for the star to build around. You're just looking for pieces of a puzzle. And so I feel like that's kind of one big factor that's kind of hurting the excitement of the transfer window. Another one that was, I think, a really good point is that transfers get spoiled. Back in the day, we didn't have to deal with people like Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein, which, like, fair play, like, they're doing their jobs and they are very
Giving you the
successful
first
at doing
source,
it.
yeah.
But back in the day, like, you would just turn on the news one day and see a player holding the shirt at the training ground, and it's like, holy shit, like, I saw a rumor in the newspaper, but now there he is, like,
And now they show him on the plane going to fucking the club and
exactly,
shit.
like it. And even then, like, it's rumored for months, and there's talks, and there's, talks advancing, and talks now serious, like, you know what I
Type
mean,
of
like,
shit, yeah.
there's so many stages that especially the big transfers, like the little deals, some of them, yeah, they pop up out of nowhere, but again, no one gives a shit about those. We're talking about the exciting transfers. They build up so slowly and so publicly that, like, I feel like one of the more recent marquee big signings that Manchester United tried to make was Jadon Sancho.
Yeah.
And then we were chasing that fool for like over a year, 2 years. So by the time we finally signed him, like, if anything, the biggest feeling I had was like relief that we didn't fuck it up, that we didn't bottle it, that he actually came through. But there was no like excitement or surprise. It was just relief. And so I feel like we missed that like excitement factor from the fact that everything gets reported early, and then not only from the journalism perspective, but also that just a lot of clubs have gotten smarter about how they do their business. Like, there's no more secrets about like smart spending and how to like get in early on players. It's like all of these transfer strategies that used to be able to separate clubs back in the day, it's all pretty common now. Like, everyone knows what XG is and shit like that. Like, there's no hiding this shit anymore. And so I feel like more often than not, teams are able to do this really advanced, detailed scouting, have a list of probably 3 to 6, however many players that like fit a specific role, and like list them in order of priority, and just like, all right, let's start working on number one, like a year before they're even planning on bringing them in officially. And like, it's just because why wouldn't you? Like, these clubs have so much money, so much resources, and they're now limited in what they're able to spend in the transfer market because of FFP and stuff like that. So all that money that these clubs have, it has to go somewhere. So why not reinvest it to your scouting departments and stuff
Yeah.
like that? And so like it just makes sense that like as time goes on, these clubs are getting smarter and the data is getting easier to access and easier to understand. And the clubs are making better moves. And so,
So
you
wait,
know, it's good for the teams in a sense because, like, they're getting the players they want. But at the same time, it sucks for us as fans because there's less of that excitement. Like, one of the points that was made in the video was that, like, you never really see anymore the players that get signed off of having, like, a hot tournament. Like
yeah.
how James Rodriguez did back after the 2014 World Cup. He just went crazy in the Copa America. And I know there was some rumors about him going to Atletico, but I don't think it actually happened.
Did you see that Danny Olmo went to Barca?
Yeah, I saw that, but like
Mhm.
that's not about the tournament that he just
He
had.
kind of had a decent tournament.
But
I feel
that
like,
has
come on.
nothing to do with it.
I
Like
feel like yes, we've been already linked. To
that
just,
has
like,
nothing to do with it. He's been an insane player for a long time, and I think he played at your guys like youth academy
Yeah,
or
he's
something
from
like that.
LSU,
Yeah,
yeah.
so like, bro, like obviously they know about him. Like it's not like it just came from the tournament he just had. So I just feel like that's just, and obviously that's like one very kind of specific example, but it just goes to show that like overall the clubs have gotten smarter. You know what I mean? And they're not gonna make like the
Manchester City to Robinho type of shit.
yeah, like these rushed last minute, like, oh fuck, we just gotta get this guy in type of signings, like United signing Fellaini back in the day. Like, I just feel like that type of stuff isn't as common. And, you know, it's unfortunate for the fans because, like, it does take away from that entertainment factor, but I think the clubs have gotten smarter. And then I think with this specific window, one point that is, I think, pretty interesting that was made in the video was that a lot of the like big spending clubs of the modern era, you guys like your PSG, Real Madrid, Manchester United, Man City, Liverpool, a lot of these clubs have spent a lot in the recent transfer windows
Yeah.
and Arsenal as well with Rice. And so like it just doesn't make sense that like they would now be coming back and going hard again. Like with the way that all these financial restrictions are set up, it's really tough to make big signings these days. And so a lot of these clubs are kind of in just a saving period. And it makes sense that like there's not that many top level players that are like available for transfer. Like Mbappe was spoken for pretty early. It's not like fucking Holland or Bruno Fernandez or any of the best players in
Everyone's
the
in the grand
world are
transfer
like
battle,
yeah, like submitting a transfer request. Like a lot of teams are just kind of settled at the moment. And so it it's just one of those situations where a lot of the biggest teams are kind of set where they're at and not really looking to make any big deals, and that has like this weird trickle down economic kind of effect on the rest of the footballing pyramids around these different leagues where like if Barca isn't going to like Athletic Bilbao, for example, which it doesn't really look like that deal's gonna happen anymore. If they're not going and saying we'll give you 80 million euros, 100 million euros for Nico Williams,
yeah.
then Bilbao doesn't have that 100 million euros to go down to a club kind of below them in the tier. Let's say fucking Getafe, just a random Spanish club, to say, hey, we want your wonder kid for 40 million euros. And then Getafe doesn't have that 40 million euros to go down to the next level and go to Real Oviedo and say, hey, we want your guys' wonder kid for 20 million euros. And then Real Oviedo doesn't have that 20 million euros to go. And there's a
Yeah.
whole, it goes down and down and down and down. And it all starts because these top level clubs are just kind of chilling.
Yeah.
And so because the big spenders are chilling, there's no trickle down effect in the whole of footballing pyramids. Like none of that money is being circulated. The way that they put it in the video I was watching was that like the kind of grease for this whole operation hasn't really like there's no lubricant to get the machine started. Like the car needs some oil and it ain't got it. You know what I mean? And so that's just kind of where we're at is like it was just a dead window. It was one of those ones, and I think those are the factors that played into it. But it was just one of those ones where it was a dead window. And I mean, we could get into some of it. Like I got some of the top transfers pulled up. Yes, Danny Olmo going to Barca is pretty exciting, pretty cool. Obviously, Mbappe going to Real Madrid will be interesting to see what he does on the pitch. But we've known about it for so long. It's not like it's that exciting.
Douglas went to Juventus. That's crazy.
I mean, but Juve's in like a weird transitional spot. They're not even competing in Serie A right now, so I don't think that's going to be any sort of difference
They're not in
making
Serie A
transfer.
right now?
They're not competing for Serie A.
Oh, well,
Like no, yeah, they're not.
there's-
No, they didn't get relegated, but no, they're not fucking like in like, bruh, the Milan teams have been dominating that
Literally.
competition. Napoli's been dominating that competition. Like, they've been out of it
Roma's
for
been good
years
for
now.
that,
Roma's
yeah.
been doing great business the last couple years. But again, they're one of those teams that's very system oriented at the moment with their fucking, obviously before with Mourinho as their manager, but still like they've just been very smart with their business, and they're bringing in like underrated players for good deals, but they're not like breaking the bank on anything great. Like, they'll bring in like a Hussein Arwar, which is like a player that if you know ball for real, it's like, oh damn, that guy's really
He's
good.
a
They
loser
can't believe they
shit.
got him for that price. But like, that's nothing that exciting to like the casual fan. You know what I mean? And I know that that was like a year ago, but still, like, I mean, honestly, I shit you not, the most exciting deal for me this window was Olise going to Bayern, just because I'm a fucking massive Olise fan.
Mhm.
I've been a fan of his since he was at Reading. I just think he's a baller, and him going to Bayern to cook up with Jamal Musiala, like the beautiful football that we're gonna see from those guys, is gonna be absolutely spectacular. But
I saw that he had a good Olympics or whatever.
nah, he did his thing over there for sure. I think the gold medal game was recent. I don't even. Who cares? Bro, like fucking Calafiori, the aura god going to Arsenal, bro. Like, can you talk about why your fan base wants to low key get freaky with Calafiori?
I don't know, bro. I feel like
That's what's up with that,
What do you mean freaky about it?
bro. Everyone, bro, not every, but like on Twitter, hella the Arsenal fans be posting up this photo, and it's like a black and white photo, and it's like, oh, the aura. He's got so much aura. It's like,
I
bro,
haven't seen it, bro.
you lucky think
I
he's
don't
cute,
know.
huh?
I don't know about that one, bro. I have not seen that shit. Yeah, you being that ass? That shit.
100%. And like, look, he's a handsome fella. No shame in
Okay,
saying
so it's
that. But like, it's like a weird thing that like it seems like a lot of the Arsenal fans are really attracted to this dude.
I have not really paid attention to him.
It's been kind of a movement on Twitter. I know you're not as active on Twitter as you are on like Instagram and shit like that, but it's been kind of a thing. It's kind of a thing on football Twitter at the moment. The Calafiori fan base is like weirdly strong. Weirdly
He
strong.
just went to Arsenal.
No, it was. I don't know, man. I don't know. They're an interesting bunch.
So we'll see,
Whatever
man.
floats your boat. But yeah, I mean,
It's
if
gonna
you're
be
looking,
interesting to have that center back battle. See who gets to start.
I mean, but just look at what we're talking about, though. Like, doesn't that show you that this window's been a fucking dud? Like, you know what I mean? There's just nothing really.
God damn, bro.
Like, don't get me wrong. There's good players
Oh,
in here.
shit.
There's interesting players
Where
in
did
here.
Greenwood go to?
Unfortunately, not hell. So not
That's
where he needs
crazy.
to be. But you know, shit.
Crazy.
A sell would have been nice, but hey, money talk. Money talk. We don't need to get into
Shout
all.
out to your club. Shout out to your club.
Hey, we got rid of the weird bitch, so fuck him.
But you paid the fucking shush.
Can I say this
you
real
paid the
shit?
shush-
Can I say this real shit? I'm so thankful I'll just never have to watch him wear the badge again. Cause that would have been look, it is what it is, bro. He hasn't ever played since the shit came up. So you can make whatever jokes you want, but as soon as the shit happened, he's never played since then. For real.
This bro got bad.
Nah. Let me get my shit off, cause this motherfucker pissed me the fuck off, and the fucking little bitch ass weirdos on this fucking internet who be supporting this fool piss me off even worse.
Okay.
Cause why the fuck you support a motherfucker who beat the shit out of female? Oh, everyone makes mistakes. Bro, that's crazy. I've made bad mistakes. I've never beat the shit out of a woman. That's crazy. That's not just like he's young, he's tripped. Like, nah, bro, I'm sorry. Like, if you seen the pictures of that, bro,
No,
nah.
I haven't seen the girl.
Bro, it was gnarly.
I chose not to.
It was different, bro.
Rihanna?
Worse.
Nah.
I would say worse.
Nah.
Bro, she was bloody as shit.
Oh shit, for real?
Oh, yeah.
Like face the form type of shit?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Bro, like, he beat the shit out of her. And then there's an audio recording
Of him doing it?
of him trying to force himself on her.
No fucking shit, bruh.
She is telling him no.
Oh,
And
it's like,
he's
no,
saying,
do it,
I don't
do
give a
it.
fuck, like, blah, blah, like, I don't want to get into all the details. It's been a long time since this shit happened. Because, like, if you know about it, you know about it. If you don't, then you don't care. But, like, nah, bro, like, that shit was very blatantly fucking ugly. Like, it
I
totally flipped. You gotta understand, like, as a fan base, we were behind this kid. Like, he was like the fucking savior. He, from a purely on the pitch perspective, he was like genuinely one of the most talented teenagers I've ever seen. 2-footed finishes from every angle, and the understand. He was like, honestly, no disrespect, because I know you fuck with him, and I fuck with him heavy. You know I fuck with him heavy, but I don't even think Yamal's on his level as a teenager. Like, bro,
Lord.
and granted, Yamal's younger doing it, 16.
Oh, Lord.
Greenwood was doing his shit like 18, 19.
Oh, Lord.
So in a couple years, if Yamal
Yeah.
might be better. He might be, but just at the current state, I'm saying, like, just as a teenage player in general,
Yeah.
one of the best teenage footballers I've ever seen on the pitch. And then all this shit comes out and it's like, oh my, he's a fucking monster. He's like a garbage human being. He's a terrible person. And that's what anyone with a fucking brain came to the conclusion of. But unfortunately, we got a lot of brainless fans because we're a really big club. And so you can't, like, not every Manchester United fan can possibly be a good person. That is mathematically just not ever going to happen. And so there was a significant, not significant, but enough of portion of the fan base that was vocal about it on the internet that made it like a whole controversy, made it a whole thing, to the point where I was genuinely worried that one day I was going to have to see that fucking scumbag representing the club that one day at one moment fucking Sir Bobby Charlton was fucking playing for this club after watching the fucking Bubsy Bates die in a fucking plane crash. Like, I know the history of this club and like, I care about Manchester United. The reason I started being a fan of them as a kid because I fucked with David Beckham because he played for the LA Galaxy, right? And I'm from the LA area, roughly. And so I was a Galaxy fan. I fuck with David Beckham. David Beckham played for Manchester United. I got FIFA on my Nintendo DS. I was like 9 years old. I got FIFA on my Nintendo DS.
Yeah, I played on that show on the Game Boy.
And who's on the cover? Wayne Rooney. So bet I'm a fucking Manchester United fan. It was just that simple for me as a kid. That was my kid brain logic. And the reason I stayed a fan is you start hearing these stories about this club. But it's no disrespect to any other club. A lot of clubs have beautiful histories. I think you being a Barca fan is one of the best ones because their history with the whole Catalonian independence movement and being anti-fucking dictator shit. Like, that whole shit is beautiful. Manchester United is another one of those clubs, in my opinion, that has a really beautiful historic relevance to, like, the fucking shipyard community that was working on the docks in Manchester back in the day, and, like, the people that were the members of that community that was an early major city hub in England, in the UK, and how that developed into such a cultural phenomenon around the entire globe. Like, I'm proud to be a Manchester United fan. I'm proud of what that badge represents, the history behind it. Like, a lot of people might call me plastic, glory hunter, whatever. I don't give a fuck. I've never watched my team win a trophy live. A Premier League live. A Premier League live. Trophies, yes, but a Premier League live. Or a Champions League. Like, I've watched the struggle. So if you want to call me a glory hunter, you can fuck off of that shit.
Glory Hunter.
Okay. We ain't seen glory, so I'm still waiting. I'm still hunting. I'm still fucking hunting. But fucking, like, so I go on this mini rant, this little rant to say that, like, to think that all of that shit could be, like, just dirtied up and muddied up by having this fucking piece of shit play for the team after that. Like, it's embarrassing enough that he was a part of the team already. Yeah. It's sad already that I was a fan of him, and like, I feel gross enough about this whole situation to think that he would have been on the pitch. And what happens if he, like, scores a winner? Like, what does that do for me emotionally? Because there's part of me that's been watching this club for over a decade. I've grown up with it into adulthood that wants to celebrate it. And then there's the other part of me that's a human being, and it's like, this guy's a fucking monster. And so it puts you in a really conflicting spot. And so there's, like, that, I know this whole shit just went on a whole wild left-hand tangent. But I'm extremely relieved that he's gone.
That's crazy.
Because I did not want to have to process that emotionally.
This guy.
I didn't want to have to deal with that turmoil. Oh, dude, I hate the kid in a lot of ways.
I wanted to make a burner Twitter account just to post that, bro.
Nah, man, it's just something that I've held on to for a minute. Because it's one of those things that makes you question, like, can I still support this team? Can I honestly go to sleep at night saying that, like, I'm a Man United fan and, like, really believe that shit and feel that shit and, like...
So what's your justification? Why do you justify them paying the hush money then?
What do you mean paying the hush money?
Well, like, the media and, like, for him to just, like, slowly go away and shit like that. And it's like...
Well...
No one really noticed when he left United and shit like that. It was kind of like...
Lise, this is what you gotta understand, man. The reality of it is, her family, her included, none of them are finna cooperate with the police. They've already decided because they have a kid together now. I don't know if you know that.
No way.
So yeah, you haven't really followed the story then. So yeah, they're still together. They stayed together through all that shit.
me.
And she got pregnant off of him like a year later. They got a kid together now.
No fucking
Yeah,
way.
man. Yeah, 100%. The dad has like publicly defended him and shit. Bear in mind, there's like documented evidence he did all this shit, and the dad's publicly defending him and all this shit.
Which dad? The female's dad? Or
Yeah, the female's dad.
No shit.
100%. Yeah.
No
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
You said
No, yeah.
what?
Yes.
He heard his daughter getting fucking basically forced on.
Don't say it, but yeah. Yeah. Yes. And supports him. Yes. 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 Yes.
When he talks for them, for sure.
And that's why it's so hard. It's like, I literally never even tried to debate with one of his little fucking weirdo fanboys online. It's like, oh, give him another chance. He made a mistake. Because that's exactly what her dad is saying. So how the fuck am I finna argue with this fool? He's gonna say, well, her dad is cool with this. She's cool with it. They have a child together. If they moved on, why can't you move on? And I have no valid response to that. Because they did move on. So it's like, fuck. Like, they did. That's my theory. But I'm not finna put that out publicly. Like, or just like, it's not one of those things that I feel comfortable. It's not a fact.
She
Like,
said, baby beat me, but give me a Louis Vuitton bag.
We'll never know. 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 And it's unfortunate, but
The
like,
dad
look,
said, as long as I can stay in this house, I got you, buddy.
we'll never know. We'll probably never know the truth. Like, it looks like that from the outside looking in, but we can never know for sure, bro. Like, all I know is
That's crazy.
because there's all that other shit behind it, right? Like, there's all this support that he's getting from her family. There's like no legal action that can be taken. There's no sort of like lawsuit that's ever gonna happen. So if Manchester United just terminate his contract, he could probably sue the club for wrongful termination and say that like there's no legal repercussions I was gonna face. I'm clearly a highly projected player. Like, I'm very valuable, expected to do well, and now you're like, ruining my career, ruining my future earning potential. Like, it just would have been a whole legal nightmare. And so, like, look, I agree that like there would have been a powerful statement to be made if you just release him and like condemn his actions and do like what I would have hoped could have happened in like the dream universe. But unfortunately, we live in the real world where like economic impact gets weighed over morals. And like, that's not exclusive to Manchester United. That's the reality of all of sports, all of life at this point, basically, especially if you're at that major level where there's billions and billions and billions of dollars on the line. So like, no one's gonna let Manchester United get their name crumbled or get their shit taken to court over this bullshit. So yeah, they played it in the way that would bring them the least heat and just kind of let it play out slowly and just let it fizzle out and die out. They probably paid out hella journalists to make it not a big deal. Let's not make it a big story. I guarantee you all this shit happening behind the scenes. But like, I'd rather have it be like that than have him still play for the club. So like, overall, it's a W because he's gone. Yes, it would have been nice if we could have like really made a statement out of it, but it's just not realistic to ask a football club of Manchester United stature to do something like that. One day, hopefully. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see, man. The problem is if no one from the actual story wants to be a part of it, then what are you gonna do? Just talk to a bunch of people who say, well, I think this. Well, I think this. Like, if she's not gonna talk, if he's not gonna talk, if no one else that's involved is that they're the only people involved. So like, if neither of them are gonna talk about it, there's no story to tell. It's just a bunch of, is them doing what we doing right now, but with better cameras and shit, and just speculating. And like, you could do that if you want, but that's not gonna be very interesting in my opinion, from a documentary point of view at least. And what's the likelihood either of them are ever gonna want to talk about the shit? I doubt it. So honestly, it's just one of those things that's gonna be like, I don't know if you ever watch like those like football conspiracy theory videos or like football dark iceberg videos and shit like that. Like, if you're just bored late at night at times and like, bruh, fucking shout out to Advisor, bruh. That fool's a goated ass channel. But fucking it'll just be one of those things. It's like kind of if you were a footballing fan around the time, you're gonna remember Mason Greenwood, the wonder kid that threw his career away over this crazy case. But like for kids that are just getting born, like tomorrow type shit, in like 15 years when they're on like TikTok or YouTube, whatever it is, looking up videos, hopefully they see us, and fucking hopefully we're popping, but fucking hopefully. But fucking they'll just be watching a video one day and be like, damn, there was this wonder kid from Manchester United. They'll be talking to their homies one day at the lunch table. Hey, did you ever hear about Mason Greenwood? And be like, nah, who's that? Bro, this kid was a baller for Manchester United. He was 19. He scored like X amount of goals in this season during COVID. You remember learning about that in history class? COVID. He was playing during COVID, bro. And they'd be like, oh, during like 2020 and stuff. And it's like, yeah, bro, they had a player during 2020, but then he was he's a bad dude.
It's probably just gonna pop up in a YouTube channel, but I don't feel like it's gonna be that serious.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's gonna be a kid who watched it on YouTube. He's gonna be explaining to his homie the next day at school, like, oh, you never heard about Mason Greenwood, bro?
The shit more with fucking Cantona is fucking. I feel like it's like something like that where he just like out of pocket.
Nah,
type of shit. It's not
nah,
low level, but it's
nah,
like
nah.
out of pocket, bruh.
What's a footballer that did some crazy shit?
They got Vina with the false passport.
No, that's not crazy enough.
We got.
Why am I blanking?
We got.
I'm blanking. Ooh,
Griezmann.
you're crazy. Nah, you're fucking crazy.
That's what.
Oh my gosh, you're ridiculous, bro. You're fucking ridiculous. Oh,
If you know, you know.
we gotta hit a fucking transition after that one, bro.